Looking good.
Good enough to beat Andy?
Getting there.
Hey, Norm. There's no shame in coming in second. Silver's a very honorable medal. Right, Mr. Dixon?
Well, then you won't mind if we get the gold medal, right, Andy?
Now, Norm, you don't really plan on beating me now, do you?
He's really a sweetheart, isn't he?
Yeah, Mr. Humble.
Damn hay fever.
Didn't take your pill this morning?
I forgot. I'll take it later. Besides, there's always next time, after I'm retired on my golden throne.
Vince, I told you that editor of yours would want another feature on the new Mark Spitz.
Yeah, well, the kid sure knows how to make the headlines.
All right, everybody ought to be breaking for lunch in a few minutes. We'll have the pool to ourselves for the interview. Any pictures you want.
Thanks.
Dad, I could go back in the pool for a couple of laps myself.
No. I want you peeking on Saturday, not before. Come on.
Where do you want to go for lunch?
Ben's expecting me back at the shop, so you go ahead. I'll close the locker. See you later.
Okay. See you.
Right.
I told you once, I told you 1,000 times, you have to take the pill at the time you're supposed to, or it won't do you any good.
I can beat Norm with my nose stuffed and one hand tied behind my back. What are you worried about?
Your health. It takes more than just flapping your arms around to win an Olympic gold medal, you know.
What about that?
What is it, did you forget to lock it again?
Again? I always lock it. Almost always. Well, let's go. Mustn't keep the press waiting. Look, I'm good. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. It's where it's at, man, telling it like it is. Right, Sid?
Andy, are you okay?
Sure, great. Well, if that's all the words of wisdom you want, let's get some more pictures.
You sure you're feeling all right, Andy? We could finish this up some other time.
No, let's do it now. Let's get it over with. What do you want, a swim star about to make a splash? Like this?
Yeah, hold that. It's great.
What's he doing?
Andy? Andy. Come on, Andy.
Sid, you all right? Sid?
My God, he stopped breathing. Get the paramedics. You talked to the medical examiner, Barnaby?
Apparently, Andy Kavanaugh died of anaphylactic shock. It's a massive allergic reaction that shuts the body down in a matter of seconds.
And there really were amphetamines in that bottle.
Police feel that he was after an edge, some kind of a little extra something.
It doesn't make sense. That was just a lousy practice session, not the qualifying meet. Why would he take uppers for that?
Unless he was hooked on the stuff.
Hooked? Then he would have had the same shock reaction before, wouldn't he?
I thought about that. According to the medical examiner, anybody can have an allergic reaction to anything without warning, depending on the antibodies in the system at the time.
When you work with somebody as closely as I worked with Andy, you get to know him pretty well. No, I can't believe he was taking anything.
Sid, would he tell you?
Well, maybe not, but I'd know. I'd recognize it.
Maybe.
You got to prove it, Barnaby, before people start saying out loud what they've already begun to think, that I put him up to it.
I don't think they believe that.
Why not? I was Andy's coach. I would have gone to the Olympics with him, shared the glory with him when he won.
All right, Sid, I'll get right on it.
Thank you, Barnaby.
You okay?
No, I still feel sick about it.
It's terrible. Just terrible.
Why, Andy? I mean, did he want it that much, taking pills?
I don't know, son. Sometimes you can want something so badly.
I wanted to win, too. I wanted to win just as bad.
What can I tell you, son? Sometimes a man starts out with the best intentions, then everything seems to go wrong.
Yeah. Dead wrong.
Well, accidents happen, son. Who do you blame?
Everybody. The whole rotten system.
All right? Some people suffer with the pressure. They take a chance. They break a rule. They make mistakes. Maybe they couldn't even imagine that things were going to work out that way.
Just to swim 200 meters faster than anybody else.
Sure, or the 350-mile, the 20-foot pole vault, if that's the only thing they're good at.
I don't buy it. Not anymore.
Norm, are you going to throw away your own opportunities just because somebody else didn't think?
Dad, I can't just get back into a pool as though nothing happened.
Well, of course you can, son. Otherwise, Andy's death doesn't mean a thing.
Look, I know what you're trying to do.
You know what Ben said to me down at the shop today? Ben wanted to know if I was still in the plumbing business, if I was a swimming coach now. Because if I was a swimming coach, he wants to know if I'd be interested in selling my half of the business. How do you like that?
Sounds like Ben. Give him an inch and he'll take the ruler. You've got a lot invested in this, haven't you?
You forget about me. The only thing I've ever wanted is what's good for you.
Okay. I'll go get into my trunks.
That's the way, Norm. Son, nothing's gonna stop you. Nothing.
Miss Kavanaugh, it's a friend of mine, Barnaby Jones. He's a private investigator. He's looking into Andy's death for Coach Mayo.
Are those Andy's effects?
Yes, if you would just check the contents against the voucher. And sign this release.
What happened to this?
Oh, that was on Andy's locker. Coach Mayo tried to open it for us, but he was too upset to remember the combination. We had to get inside. For these. Biddle. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. Sorry I'm late for a briefing. Miss Kavanaugh, Barnaby.
Why would Sid Mayo want to hire anybody to look into Andy's death, Mr. Jones?
Because he didn't believe your brother put the amphetamines into this bottle.
I'm glad somebody else believes that, too. Andy wouldn't have touched those things. Not after last winter.
Last winter.
Final exam week. Andy had 3 tests in one day. He had to stay up studying 2 nights in a row.
He took something to keep him going.
Yes, and after he did, his eyes and nose started to water. His throat went tight. It looked like he was going to choke.
Sound like a warning reaction. The medical examiner says they're quite common in people who are about to get allergic to something. Did you tell the police?
Yes, but since I wasn't positive what it was that he took, they disregarded it.
You say that Sid Mayo knew the combination to this lock?
That's right.
Did anyone else know it?
I don't know. Why?
Well, if Andy didn't put the amphetamines in the bottle, somebody else did. Wonder if the tag's still around.
Tag?
Yes, they usually come with a tag that has a combination on it. You're supposed to keep it until you memorize the numbers.
I could look through his things.
I'd appreciate that.
Oh, Gwen's just closing up, Ray.
Thanks, Harry. Good night.
And I...
Ray?
About ready?
I wasn't even sure you'd stop by.
I should have called last night, but
No, it's all right, I understand. You must have been going through hell.
Hell, yeah, I guess that's how I feel.
Well, try not to take it too well. How could you possibly have known?
You see, I figured they'd just disqualify Andy for using uppers. My God, I didn't mean to kill him. I never should have asked you for those amphetamines.
But an allergic reaction, I mean, who could ever anticipate a thing like that?
He's just a kid. He had his whole life ahead of him.
Look, I'm not saying that we're ever going to be able to forget about this. But we're going to have to live with it.
I'm sorry, Gwen. I know this has been rough for you, too.
I love you.
Well, let's go. It's getting late.
Listen, I tell you what. Let's still go out to dinner tonight. I mean, let's go over to your place. I'll fix you something really special.
There's no need to go to any fuss. Why don't we just go to the chicken place?
Honey, we've been together for almost a year now. I mean, when you didn't call last night, I picked up that phone about a dozen times. I was dying to call you, but I knew you'd be mad at me.
I know, but I gotta prepare Norm. I can't just spring you on him like that.
Look, I know he was upset when his mother died, but it's time now that he knows about us and how we feel about each other.
It's not just that.
But what is it then? I mean, if it's not Norm, then maybe it's you. Maybe I'm not good enough for you.
No, honey, no. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying I don't want to interrupt Norm's routine. You know, not before the meet's coming up on Saturday.
Ray, I want so much to know your son. To love him the way I love you. We need each other now. More than we ever did before. Don't we, Ray?
found it in Andy's desk.
Left 21, right 13, left 34.
That's it. That's the combination I dialed, Barnaby.
Serial number 1090452. 133677. He don't match at all. You sure there's the right tag?
Yes, it's the only one I could find.
Maybe it isn't Andy's lock. Maybe that's why I couldn't get it open.
Now let's go over it again. You and Andy both came down here because Andy was sniffling, and you wanted him to take some of his hay fever medicine.
That's right. We still had that interview to do, and Andy was unlocking the lock and telling me...
What is it?
Come to think of it, he never worked the combination. It was already unlocked. I figured he'd just been forgetful again.
Did he do that often, leave it unlocked?
He claimed he didn't, but you know kids, it happens.
Now, what if somebody broke in and put on a duplicate lock to cover up?
Yeah. That would sure explain how those uppers got into Andy's medication, all right.
But not why. Have you any idea who might have wanted to switch medicines on Andy?
Andy was a big mouth. He wasn't particularly well liked, but for somebody to do something like that?
Well, maybe it didn't start that way. After all, nobody knew that Andy was allergic to amphetamine. Maybe not even Andy himself.
Sharon.
Oh. Hi, Norm.
Sharon, you all right?
I guess.
I was gonna write. I started to a dozen times. Dear Sharon, I'm sorry about Andy. But it all seems so...
Norm, I know how you feel.
so inadequate.
Hey, stop talking like that. It wasn't your fault.
Yeah. It just sort of took the wind out of everything.
It's always been just you against Andy, hasn't it? Ever since he first lapped you that time in summer camp.
I'd have beaten him this time, Sharon. I wouldn't say that to anybody else at a time like this. But I really think I would have beaten him.
Excuse me. If you're the Norman Dixon that I've been hearing about, I'll bet you would have beaten him too.
This is Barnaby Jones, a private investigator. He's looking into Andy's death.
Oh? I didn't think there was anything to look into.
Well, as a matter of fact, there is.
Have you found something, Mr. Jones?
Yes, it seems that Andy's hay fever medicine was tampered with.
Wait a minute, are you thinking that one of us swimmers might have had something to do with it?
Well, I'll know more about that after I find out where everyone was on that particular day, especially during the lunch hour. Might as well start with you, Norm.
Lunch,
Yes, the locker room attendant said that he saw you down there just as he was leaving.
Yeah, that's right. Dad and I, he's my coach, we broke early, and, but I wasn't the only one down there, and I wasn't the last one to leave the stadium.
I assume you can verify that.
I got in my car and went home. No, wait, the parking lot, Steve Pilsner. He's a campus security guard. This kid wanted my autograph. We talked maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Pilsner, yeah, I can check that out. Well, thank you very much. Oh, your father, did he leave with you?
No, he had to get down to his shop.
His shop?
He's the D in H&D Plumbing.
I see. I'd like to talk to him, too. Thank you, Miss Kavanaugh.
Hey! Not there! That stuff goes on the side there by the ball joints. You gotta watch him like a hawk. Now, of course, if I had a full-time partner.
Does Ray always spend as much time coaching his son?
Oh, I don't mind that. No, the kid's good. Yeah, he might even make the Olympic team. So who am I to begrudge, right? But when a man says he'll be back before lunch, the least he could do if he's not gonna make it is call, right?
Does he make a practice of coming in after lunch?
Yeah, you might say that. Yesterday, he was 2 hours late.
What about Tuesday, the day the Kavanaugh boy died?
Oh, the same. Yeah, he got back about 2:30. Ray, it's a man here to see you.
Sure. What can I do for you, Mr.
Jones. Barnaby Jones, private investigator.
Yeah, well, I've got work to do.
Private investigator, what are you investigating, Mr. Jones?
Andy Kavanaugh's death. This isn't generally known, Mr. Dixon, but it's possible that Andy did not put those amphetamines in his hay fever bottle.
I don't follow you.
Well, it's possible that his locker was broken into during the lunch period.
I wish I could help you, Mr. Jones. I was out of the stadium. Couldn't have been more than 12 o'clock. I had work to get back to here.
He came directly here.
That's right.
Mr. Harlow says that you didn't get here till after lunch, about 2:30.
Yeah, that's right.
You mind telling me where you were during the lunch period?
Mr. Jones, I was with a woman. Couldn't we just leave it at that?
Well, yes, we could, but I don't believe the police would.
The police?
It may just be that we have a murder on our hands, and if so, it becomes important to know where everyone was during the period when the locker room was unattended.
I see. The lady's name is Gwen Reynolds.
Gwen Reynolds. And the address?
The address is 902 East Firestone Terrace, apartment 3C.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, could we be discreet about this? My son doesn't know about Gwen and me.
Of course.
Thank you.
Oh, mister, if you're looking for Gwen, she's never home this early.
I see. Where might I find her? It's rather important.
Furby's drugstore. She works there.
Drugstore.
5th Street, near Stratman.
Thank you.
Oh, you'll never make it. They close about now. I'll put some coffee on if you'd like to wait inside.
Well, thank you, but I think I better wait out here. I wouldn't want to miss her.
All right. But if you change your mind, the doorbell's right there.
Ray, you nearly scared me to death.
I'm sorry, honey. When we have a story we have to get straight.
A story? What are you talking about?
There's a private detective named Jones. He came by the shop. He's investigating Andy's death. I had to tell him I was with you Tuesday at lunch.
At lunch on Tuesday. Okay,
Thanks. I'm sorry I scared you.
it's okay.
Well, I gotta get home.
Ray, listen. I've been thinking about something all day long, and since you're already here, we might as well talk about it.
What is it?
Well, I know you got a lot on your mind, but in all the time we've been together, I've never pressured you, have I?
No, honey, but not now. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?
No, wait a minute now. Because you haven't been telling me the truth.
What are you talking about?
Well, with Norm, you said that he wasn't ready to know about me or about us, and that isn't true. He already knows.
He knows what?
Well, this afternoon, I was driving through your neighborhood, and I stopped, you know, just to see what it was like.
My house?
And while I was there, Norm drove by.
I asked you never to go near my house.
And he knows about us. He's known for a long time. So you see, we're out in the open now. I mean, he accepts me.
No, you don't know Norm. I mean, he tries to be polite, but...
Oh, you're such a frightened little baby. I mean, once we get married, you're going to look back and you're going to wonder why we didn't do it sooner.
No. I mean, we can't. Not now. Not now.
Now, you look at this, Ray. I'm in this with you all the way. I shared the guilt with you for what you did with it. And I'm going to share everything else that goes with it.
Oh, don't, Gwen. Don't use that as a key to my house.
No? All right. Then let's go ask Norm about it.
You leave Norm out of this.
Oh, no! Let's go ask your precious son if he thinks I'm not good enough to marry a murderer!
No, I won't let you.
No, what are you gonna
do? Good.
Ah!
Is Miss Reynolds often late for work?
Oh, every now and then, like everyone, but mostly Gwen's on time. She's never this late.
I was at her place last night. I called again this morning. She never got home.
That's strange. Let me give it a try.
I assume her job includes handling some of the medicines?
Well, Gwen isn't a pharmacist, so she can't fill prescriptions. But other than that, she's into everything. My right-hand man, so to speak.
Well, and she probably runs an inventory on medical supplies, things like that?
Yeah, reorders stock when we're low. She takes care of all that for me.
Then you wouldn't necessarily know if any particular medicine was unaccounted for.
Oh, no. I'm sure Gwen would tell me if anything were missing. Looks like she's still not home. It's really getting me worried.
You told me you left her here last night to close up the store. Did she meet anybody? Boyfriend?
Well, Ray Dixon called earlier and said something about picking her up.
Did he?
I don't know. I'd already gone.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Verby. And when you hear from her, give me a call.
46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. You can have that later. You're not finished.
Quit pushing. I'm tired.
You haven't even begun to know what tired is. Get back in the pool.
You want a gold medal so bad, you go out and break your own arms.
Look at that time. Look at that. You're slowing down. You're not getting faster. Jim Cochran can beat you in his sleep.
Jim Cochran? I'd have lapped him twice. That's the fastest time I've ever done here.
Well, it's not fast enough.
What's the matter, Dad? Andy was my only competition in Saturday's meet, and he's gone, and still you're running scared. Why?
Because I can't take any chances. Because I have to make sure you'll win, that you'll amount to something.
It's more than just the swimming, isn't it, Dad? I mean, you're aiming for something more than that, aren't you?
Norm, some people are more than good-looking. They're handsome. More than smart. They're brilliant. In other words, some people were born lucky. They reach out, and they always come back with a fistful of whatever it is they've always wanted. Now, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Maybe, if you'd get it all set.
You weren't born with that kind of luck, son. You're the normal type, the everyday type, the fella down the street type who will never know what it's like to be one in a million unless you break your back to make yourself into one. Son, you have only one gift, swimming. You see what I mean? Though it doesn't make any difference whether it's swimming or football or baseball, as long as you're the champion.
It's not just for me, is it?
Sure, me too. A little glory, even it is reflected off you, that's more than most people know in a lifetime.
Coach of the year, huh?
No, it won't make any difference to what life's got in store for me, but if I can help you make it, then I'll be happy. That's why I've been pushing you so hard. Why I've had such an edge on.
Also, sneaking in at 4 in the morning. That kind of thing will make a wreck out of you.
I had this emergency call last night. It's broken water pipe.
They making water pipes with fingernails now?
Yeah, I fell, scraped my cheek against a bush.
Whatever you say, Dad. Mine is not to pry and poke. Mine is but to swim and stroke.
So you conveniently forgot to tell me where she worked.
I didn't conveniently forget to tell you that Gwen worked at a drugstore. I left it out on purpose, Mr. Jones.
Well, considering that this entire case revolves around whether somebody switched some prescription drugs.
You see, that was a can of peas I didn't want open. What were you thinking Andy was set up? Me with a lady friend that had access to drugs? Well, you see what I mean?
Well, I'm sure if it's an honest coincidence, the lady would back you up.
Of course she will.
Problem is, nobody knows where she is.
Right. She's not at work?
No, or at home. Barnaby says you were picking her up at closing time last night.
Yes. Yes, that's right, like always. I wasn't with her long, though. Mr. Jones, it was all over between us. I liked the lady, but I wasn't going to marry her, and Gwen, she took it hard.
Yes, I see.
Now you've got me kind of worried.
Oh?
Gwen is a very emotional woman. You say she wasn't home all night, she's not at work. No telling what she might have done.
Well, I hope it isn't as bad as you make it sound.
I'd never forgive myself.
And we would never know whether the amphetamines came from Barnaby's drugstore, would we? I'll be checking with you. Hello, Sid. John?
Barnaby, the lawyer's on the way, but I figured since he's your client also, you'd like to be in on this.
Sure, of course. This is a bottle of amphetamines they found in your desk?
That's it. Contains the same stuff Andy died of.
How about it, Sid?
What's the use? Is anybody going to believe me if I say I'm innocent?
I might.
Well, thanks, Barnaby. Thing is, how do we convince him?
Oh, Lieutenant Biddle is a very reasonable man. You don't think that Sid would kill his golden goose, do you?
No. I don't think the coach meant for Andy to OD, but since he committed a felony by distributing drugs, he could be charged with murder.
Why would I give him drugs? To help him win a practice session? A press conference?
The theory is Andy was already hooked. You were just helping him stay happy.
Assuming that Sid was supplying drugs to Andy, which I don't believe, do you think that he'd be stupid enough to keep this stuff in his desk where anybody could find it?
The case was closed. Nobody was going to search that desk.
Until the college security people helped him dry it out after the sprinkler system accidentally went on. (368-5292).
5292.
Stacy Jennings Pharmaceutical Company, got it?
I have it.
Now call that serial number in to Stacy Jennings and find out which drugstore was shipped this particular bottle of amphetamines. My hunch is Barnaby's.
I'll get right on it.
Hi, Norm. The big day, huh?
Yeah, that's what the butterflies in my stomach keep telling me. You want to drive down to the stadium with us?
No, I just thought I'd stop by and wish you luck.
Oh, aren't you going to be there?
I'd only be thinking of Andy.
Yeah. I guess I'll be thinking of him, too.
No, don't do that. It'll slow you down. Andy wouldn't want that.
Mr. Jones.
Norm, Sharon, your father home?
He'll pick me up any minute now. Can I help you with anything?
Well, just a few questions. I kind of imagine you stayed pretty close to home the night before the big race.
Dad would have killed me if I didn't.
What about your dad? He stay home too?
Except for a few hours after dinner. He's been busy with some plumbing jobs the last few nights. What's all this about, Mr. Jones?
Sid Mayo, he's been arrested.
Sid?
Why?
Well, the police think that they have proof that he supplied amphetamines to Andy.
There must be some mistake.
Yeah, it's funny the way they found him. The sprinkler system in his office suddenly turned on, and while they were cleaning up the flood, somebody found the pills in his desk.
Sid Mayo? I never would have figured him for that.
I'm rather inclined to believe that somebody planted them there, and then, in order that they be found, turned on the sprinkler system on purpose.
Who would do that?
Somebody that thought that I was getting too close.
What the hell is going on here, Jones? This boy has a race in less than an hour. You trying to mess up his concentration? Get in the car. Come on.
Dad, Sid Mayo has been arrested.
Yeah, I know all about that. I heard that on the car radio, but we don't have time to worry about that now. Come on, come on.
See you later.
Good luck.
Mr. Dixon? We're gonna have to talk about this sometime, including Gwen Reynolds, who is still missing.
Something happened to Gwen?
Right now, you got one thing to think about, the race. Get in. Hey, look here.
What about Gwen, Pop? What does Mr. Jones think she's missing?
Son, Gwen's a grown woman. If she wants to take off and not let anybody know, that's her business.
He also asked about last night, where I was, where you were.
You tell him I was on a job?
Yeah, but what if he doesn't take my word for it? What if he checks?
All right, he checks. You think he's gonna find I was lying or something?
Of course not. It's just got me worried, that's all. I mean, scratches on your face the other night, and last night coming home with your clothes all wet.
Son, I'm a plumber. Now, sometimes pipes break. I get water on me.
I'm just saying that might look funny to other people.
You let me worry about that, okay? Norm, everything I've ever wished for you is waiting out there at the pool. Now, don't blow it, son. You make your old man proud, okay?
Okay.
And the serial number does trace to Verby's.
And when I checked with Mr. Verby, he said that the bottle with that particular serial number is missing.
Call Lieutenant Biddle, fill him in, Ask him to meet me over here at the stadium.
Right.
Mr. Dixon.
Jones, you really have a lousy sense of timing. You know that, Cap? This wait.
Murder investigation, Olympic competition, each has its own imperative. You want to talk out here and there where it's quiet?
You go ahead, son. I'll be with you in a minute. Look, Jones, the police found the pills in Sid Mayo's desk. Now, isn't that good enough?
Might be if I hadn't done my homework. You see, the pills were traced to Verby's drugstore.
Okay, then that's where Sid got them.
No, Sid has never been in Verby's drugstore.
Well, sure he was. Gwen told me. You find her. She'll tell you.
It's not going to work, Mr. Dixon. You can never lay this whole thing off on a missing woman. This is one bullet you're going to have to bite yourself.
That's an accusation, and you try and make it stick. Just try.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I haven't got enough to prove that you killed Andy. Maybe Gwen and framed Sid. Maybe I ought to turn this whole thing over to the police and let them sort it out.
Wait a minute. Even if the police can't make anything stick, Norm's going to hear about it. I don't want him involved.
I don't know any way you can keep your son from being involved.
Look, I'm asking you, Mr. Jones, please. I want my son left out of this.
You should have thought of that before you put the drug in Andy's medicine bottle.
That's a lie. Norm won't believe that.
You think not, huh?
I'm not gonna let you ruin everything for me, Mr. Jones.
Don't be a fool. Put the gun down.
I didn't mean to kill that boy. I didn't mean a lot of things.
You're not going to help him by killing again.
I'm sorry. My son's never gonna know about this. Now, let's go.
He says he buried the Reynolds woman up in the hills. I'm on my way out there now.
I heard you won.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the time.
The time?
The time. What'd you clock in at?
God, this is Andy's sister, and all you can think about is my time?
The time.
Faster than Andy ever clocked. Does that make it all right? That I beat his best time, that I would have won all by myself anyway? Dad! Dad!
I think your friend needs a friend.
Well, what do you think?
Fantastic. I can't tell any difference between them.
See what I mean? It's going to work.
Yeah. But a miniature like that is one thing. Getting away with a
copy of something this big.
Look, I'll have the Degas finished tonight. Come to my place and you be the judge.
Tony, I'm not the one we're going to have to fool. Guthrie's the expert. If we make the switch and he spots it as a forgery, we won't be out of the country before he has the police on us.
All right, forget it. Forget the whole thing. Stay married to that old miserly...
Hang on. I know what I want. I just think it'd be safer to get a divorce. We can still go to Europe like we planned.
Baby, we've been through all this. I'm broke. When you leave him, you get nothing. Reinhardt saw to that before he married you when he tied up all his millions in his museum foundation.
We'd still have each other.
I'm used to starving alone. Not with a wife and maybe a few kids. But don't you see? I'd have to give up my painting.
I wouldn't let you do that.
Then let's finish what we've started. In 4 days, the Degas will be dry enough to make the switch. We take off for Europe with the 2 originals. We sell them for $300,000, maybe more.
And pray that Guthrie doesn't discover the forgeries until later.
Even if he does, he'd have a hard time convincing the police he hadn't bought copies in the first place. And it'd serve the old tightwad right.
Guthrie, I thought...
You thought I'd be miles away by now. Unfortunately, I had to come back for some papers I'd forgotten.
Mr. Reinhardt, it's not Abby's fault. It's all mine.
Mr. Barrow, you dirty, filthy scum. I never want to see you in my house again. Get out! Get out! Oh. Abby, my room. Oh. Oh.
It's his heart.
Reinhardt! Reinhardt! Reinhardt!
There's some pills in his room.
You can't be. You can't be. Reinhardt! Reinhardt, you can't do this to me! You can't be. Can't be. Can't be. He can't be.
Tony,
can't
stop
be.
it! Tony, stop it!
Oh, my God, what do we do now?
Doctor warned him about his heart.
We've blown it. The lawyers will have the entire state locked up in probate, the paintings, everything.
I better call the doctor.
Abby, wait. 4 days. Until the copy's ready for the switch. Then we let him know he's dead.
Tony, we can't do that.
Why not? Nobody knows about it but us.
But we can't just...
Hide him, why not? I know just the place.
Barnaby!
Walter, I'm sorry I'm late. Ran into a little traffic coming out of Los Angeles.
I sure am glad you could come.
I love that drive up the coast. Santa Barbara brings back memories.
We're out back by the patio. Abby, Barnaby Jones. This is Reinhardt.
Hello.
Still no word, huh?
No. Mr. Morgan, I know how anxious you are to talk to Guthrie, but as I keep telling you,
Yesterday I was anxious. Today I'm beginning to panic.
I really don't expect to hear from him before he gets back from his trip.
But you said a week, maybe longer. Barnaby, I'm going to be ruined unless I find Reinhardt before Monday.
Now, Walter, take it easy. Miss Reinhardt, I hope you don't mind my getting into this, but Walter asked me to help find your husband.
Barnaby is a private investigator. He's the best.
A detective? I told you. Guthrie is on an art buying trip. He's not a missing person.
Well, until somebody knows how to get a hold of him, he's missing as far as I'm concerned.
Walter, just thrashing around on the water is not going to get you across the lake. Now, Walter told me that your husband had an appointment a couple of nights ago to meet some attorneys, to sign some papers, something about a merger.
And I stand to lose $500,000 in commissions because Reinhardt disappeared.
Mr. Morgan, has it ever occurred to you that maybe Guthrie changed his mind about your deal?
Abby, it's not my deal. It's his deal. And unless something has happened to him, he wouldn't miss closing this deal for all the art in Rome.
Didn't you say that you had an appointment with the lawyers to talk about an extension?
You're right. That's a good idea. You sure you don't need my help here anymore?
I'll manage.
All right. Goodbye. Now, Abby, anything you can think of, please.
Actually, I have an appointment myself.
Yes, I just have a question or two. Didn't your husband mention anything about where he was going?
To anyone who doesn't know him, it may sound a little strange, but my husband is a very eccentric collector.
So I've read.
What you probably haven't read, though, is how paranoid he's become about the art dealers jacking up the prices every time they hear Guthrie Reinhardt is making a new acquisition. So he keeps his trip secret now. Just takes off in the car and doesn't tell anyone.
Not even his wife.
All I know is he said he was going on a buying trip. He could be anywhere. London, New York, Paris. I just don't know.
Well, if he took his car, the probability is he didn't go that far.
Unless he left his car at the airport.
True.
I really have to go.
Yes, if I need any more information, I'll call you.
Well, guess I fixed all this for nothing.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I never turned down a cherry tart in a month with or without an R in it. Mmm, delicious.
Flattery will get you everywhere. I'm Liza.
Barnaby Jones.
I heard from the window. Look, I don't like sticking my nose into other people's business. But if I was looking for Mr. Reinhardt, I'd try Los Angeles.
Why Los Angeles?
Because that's where the towels mostly come from.
Towels?
Hotel towels. Seems every time he takes his car to go on one of his art buying trips, it's driving to Los Angeles. Then when he comes back, his bags always have some hotel towels in them.
Any particular hotel he seemed to favor?
No, different ones all the time. I guess that's how he keeps his whereabouts a secret. Won't you have another one?
No, thanks. One by limit. When I'm driving.
Tell me something. Do you like dancing? There's a real fine dance bar in town.
I'll give it some thought.
Abby, what are you doing here? We agreed it wasn't wise to be seen together until this thing was over.
Something's happened. Walter Morgan came by again looking for Guthrie. Only this time he brought Barnaby Jones with him, a private detective.
What? Does Morgan suspect anything?
No. He's just so frantic about this business deal of theirs that he brought Jones in to help him find Guthrie.
We need 2 more days. The painting will be dry by then.
What if Jones comes back? What do I tell him?
You just stick with your story, okay? You don't know anything, you understand?
All right.
All right, you better go now.
Not seeing you all this time, I missed you.
I missed you, too. In a few days, we'll have all the time in the world together.
Hey, Can I see the painting?
It's perfect, if I say so myself. Voila.
You really are a wonderful artist.
In a few years, people start trying to forge my masterpieces.
I love you.
Ralph, this is the umpteenth time you dragged me out to this nowhere beach, and all you ever do is take crummy pictures. What are you shooting now?
A masterpiece, Cindy. $1 million masterpiece.
Ask a silly question.
Fantastic, isn't it, Barnaby?
It looks like somebody dropped a crate of eggs on the kitchen floor.
Oh, Barnaby, you still don't know how to look at modern paintings.
I've looked at them every way, including standing on my head. But right now, I'm more interested in talking about Guthrie Reinhardt.
What do you want with that old skinflint?
Oh, I'm looking for him for a client of mine. He's supposed to be holed up somewhere here in Los Angeles.
Oh, don't tell me. Not another one of his art raids.
Is that what they call them, art raids?
Well, what else? He comes skulking in like a vulture, has his stooges buy up all the talented new artists, and then forces the prices to go up by hoarding their paintings. You know what the worst of it is? Reinhardt doesn't even like art. He's just in it for the money.
How do I contact one of these stooges?
Oh, they never announce who they're fronting for. Just different people he sends in to poor-mouth the galleries into selling cheap.
Wouldn't you think a man as important as Reinhardt would have a professional agent writing herd on his art acquisition?
Well, you might try George Andre.
The art critic?
There's some people who say that he's the artistic eyes and ears behind Reinhardt's throne.
Well, thank you, Charlotte. Oh, and the next time you run across a Grandma Moses primitive, give me a call.
Get out of here, Barnaby.
Liza? Liza?
I'm down here in the cellar, Mrs. Reinhardt. The fridge is locked. How am I supposed to make dinner?
Everything's upstairs in the kitchen refrigerator. My husband moved it.
He did? What for?
To make room for some wines and champagnes that he wanted chilled.
So he locked it up. Doesn't trust anybody anymore.
What was it, Ralph? Scotch?
Perfect. You're looking great as ever, Abby.
Thank you. You know, it's been lonely around here without you. Shouldn't stay away so long.
There's lots of things I shouldn't have done. Introduce you to my uncle, for one.
Come on. Stop wearing your heart on your sleeve. We were never that serious about each other.
Well, Uncle Guthrie didn't think so when he told me to get out and stay out. Now, that's a pretty price to pay, since my only talent is to live off his money.
That was always your problem, selling yourself short.
All right, I guess I do have another talent. An amateur's knack of photography, you might say. Here, take a look at this.
Blackmail?
Nothing personal, Abby. I mean, you're aces as far as I'm concerned. And knowing old Guthrie, I don't blame you looking elsewhere for some affection.
I know I shouldn't be shocked by what you're trying to do, but I am.
I want $25,000.
I don't have any money. You know that.
Abby, these pictures are all that stand between me and some crummy $2 an hour job. Now, I'm sure you're going to figure out a way to get it.
Ralph, be reasonable. The only cash I ever see is a small household allowance.
Would you rather me go to my uncle for it? He's a miser, but he does have pride. And I don't think he'll mind shelling out $25,000 just to keep these pictures out of circulation. I'll be back tomorrow. You see what you can do.
Mr. Andre? Your apartment house manager said I might find you here. I'm Barnaby Jones.
Mr. Jones, when a true gourmet eats, he eats alone.
I was hoping to talk with you about Guthrie Reinhardt.
Well, since you're talking about my bread and butter, please.
Thank you. I understand that you're Mr. Reinhardt's eyes and ears in the world of art.
Also his taste, his perception, and his discernment. Is that beautiful thing with you?
My secretary.
Over here. Please, do join us.
Mr. Andre, is my daughter-in-law, Betty Jones.
Enchanté, mademoiselle. Will join me, won't you?
Thank you, yes.
Any luck, Betty?
Oh, no. No, I'm afraid not. No one even resembling Guthrie Reinhardt checked into any of the better hotels.
Mr. Andre, I gather that if anyone knows the whereabouts of Mr. Reinhardt, that's you. Is he presently buying art here in Los Angeles?
Of course not. If he were here or anywhere in the world making acquisitions, I would be at his side.
You're positive because it's very important that we find Mr. Reinhardt.
I assure you, Mr. Jones. In fact, I spoke to Mr. Reinhardt only 2 days ago. An important young muralist has come on the market. I thought we could steal. Make a buy at a good price.
He wasn't interested?
Certainly he was, but he couldn't come. Something about an important business merger.
I guess that answers that question. Thank you very much, Mr. Andre.
Not leaving already?
I'm sorry. Life is full of sad goodbyes. Bon appetit.
I don't think I'm going to wait for Abby to come home, Liza, so why don't you just give her this as sort of a gift? Just tell her I couldn't go through with it. She'll understand.
Hello, Mr. Jones.
Hi.
This is Ralph Forrester, Mr. Reinhardt's nephew.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
Mr. Jones has been looking for your uncle. He's a private detective.
Looking for him why? Is there something wrong?
I don't want to sound sinister, but your uncle hasn't been seen since Tuesday night.
Tuesday? What's that? 3 days? That's not too long, especially if he's been on one of those silly art buying trips.
He's not buying art. I checked that out.
You think something's happened to him?
It's beginning to look that way. Passing up a multi-million-dollar merger deal doesn't sound like the Guthrie Reinhardt that I have been reading about.
No, it doesn't sound like my uncle at all, does it? On second thought, I think I'll take the envelope. It's no big deal. Nice to meet you, Mr. Jones.
Sure. I stopped by Mr. Reinhardt's lawyer on my way over here. Apparently, the entire estate goes into the museum foundation. How does that sit with Mrs. Reinhardt and the nephew?
I generally keep my nose out of family matters. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking what I usually think when I run into a dead end. I better go back and start all over again.
Any way I can help, Mr. Jones?
Who was the last person that Mr. Reinhardt saw when he left here the other night?
Mrs., of course. I had the night off. Did a little dancing at the ballroom.
Was anyone else here?
Just Mr. Barrow, Tony Barrow. An artist of sorts Abby found in town. Got Mr. Reinhardt to put him on to restore some of the antique furniture.
Where do I find him?
He should be down cellar finishing an antique chair, but he isn't. You might try his house down in Carpinteria. Come on, I'll get you the address.
Thank you.
Should have stalled Ralph off longer. Told him to come back in a few days.
I didn't have a chance to. Now he's probably at the house waiting for me. What am I going to say to him?
Anything. Tell him you'll give him the $25,000 tomorrow. By then, it won't matter. We'll be gone.
What do you mean? Is it dry?
Well, the surface is. And that's all we have to worry about.
And we don't have to wait. Why don't we switch the paintings now and get out of here?
Now, hold on. We've got to take care of something first, remember?
When?
Set it up for tomorrow. Feel better?
I'll feel better when we're on the plane to Europe. Oh, I can't wait.
Don't leave without me.
No chance.
Ralph!
You all right?
Oh, no.
What?
He's dead.
Barnaby!
However did you find me here?
By being the super detective you always hoped I'd be. I made a telephone call to the Reinhardt residence. The housekeeper told me where you were headed, and voila, I am here.
And what have you done for your proud and loving father-in-law lately?
I've done a great deal, but nothing's come of it. And I double-checked everything. I even made phone calls to his business connections in Europe. Guthrie Reinhardt isn't anywhere.
What about the car he was driving?
Well, the car isn't to be found in any railroad, bus, airline depot within a 200-mile radius of Santa Barbara. I swear, Barnaby, it's as though he's vanished off the face of the earth.
You know, I'm beginning to feel the same way, like I'm chasing a ghost. Come on.
Just a minute!
Hi. You Tony Barrow? Yeah? I'm Barnaby Jones, private investigator. This is my daughter-in-law, Betty Jones. Oh, what can I do for you? It's about Guthrie Reinhardt. May we come in?
Oh, yeah, sure. Come on in.
Wow. Very attractive place you have here.
Thank you. Oh, you'll have to excuse it. I was burning something in the fireplace.
Oh, it's very pungent, like film.
Film, yeah. Some old photographs that I want to get rid of.
They don't compare with the real thing, do they?
Real thing? Mr. Jones! You know how artists are. They don't like anyone to look at their work until it's finished.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
You'll have to forgive Barnaby. He's the reincarnated cat that curiosity killed.
About Mr. Reinhardt.
Oh, yes. I understand that you were over there last Tuesday night.
I did some restoration on an antique chair for him.
These creaky beach houses almost have a life of their own, don't they?
What's this all about? Something happened to Reinhardt?
I don't think that's exactly what I said.
Well, I called there to ask Mr. Reinhardt if there was anything more that I could do, and his wife said that he hasn't been heard from since the night I was there and that you were looking for him.
And you never went back?
Yeah, I finished what I was doing. No reason for me to go back.
Before Mr. Reinhardt left, did he indicate to you that his trip was anything other than another art hunt?
No. He wouldn't talk to me about his comings and goings. Is that all?
Yes. I hope we haven't bothered you.
Are you kidding? No bother at all.
Well, thank you very much for your cooperation, Mr. Barrow. Oh, that car up there on the hill looks a lot like one that belongs to Mr. Reinhardt's nephew, Ralph. You know him?
No.
Well, it's probably just a coincidence. He may be visiting one of the other houses along the way.
Anything else I can do for you, let me know.
Thank you very much.
What's the matter, Barnaby?
I don't know. Liza, the housekeeper, said that Tony hadn't finished his work over at Reinhardt's, and he says he had.
Well, maybe she didn't know that he had.
Maybe. Betty, when you get back into town, check out Ralph Forrester. See whether he has any friends that might have a beach house along here that he could have dropped in on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, but Mrs. Reinhardt says she has a headache. But if it's important...
No, don't bother. There is one thing, though, that you could help me with. A while ago, you said something about Tony Barrow doing some work on an antique chair. Did he ever finish it?
No. Oh, I don't think so.
If you're not positive, you mind if I take a look?
This way.
Thank you.
The workroom's down in the cellar.
There it is on the bench.
Yeah, it's a long way from being finished.
And if it's not done by the time Mr. Reinhardt gets back, Tony will hear a lot of loud and angry words, you can bet.
Why did he stop working on it?
Oh, artists. Said it was more important to first finish a picture he was painting.
A picture he was painting.
Oh, locks everywhere. Locks on the workroom, locks in the greenhouse. Now there's even a lock on the refrigerator.
Lock on a refrigerator?
What have you got there?
Looks like a small piece of fabric. Can you open this?
No. The lock's new. Boss didn't give me a key before he left.
Mind if I open it?
Go ahead. I'd like to see what kind of wine the old miser thinks is so important he's locked it up. Kind of a handy man to have around. Well, can you believe that? It's been empty all the time.
I'm not so sure about that.
I got your message at the motel. What's going on?
Well, I thought you might want to talk to Tony again. It seems he wasn't telling the truth about Ralph Forrester.
He knows it.
When I was checking Ralph's house out, I ran into his girlfriend, Cindy, who was also looking for him. She said that Ralph introduced her to Tony in a restaurant 2 weeks ago.
Did you say anything about Ralph taking her out here to Tony's other times, like yesterday?
No, but she said that Ralph brought her out to the beach quite often. Seems he's a camera bug. Drove her crazy taking telephoto pictures of old houses along the beach.
Or maybe one particular house.
Tony's house.
Telephoto lenses that come in real handy taking pictures of people inside a house.
The photographs that Tony said he burned.
Just could be.
I think we're gonna have to come back later, Barnaby.
My tax man says that if I use these pics one more time, I can take a total tax write-off on them.
Barnaby. Hurry up.
Mr. Barrow? Ralph's car is gone. The rug in the closet is gone. The picture on the easel is gone.
And whatever he was burning is gone. Almost. Barnaby, come here. Yeah. It's Tony in a woman's hand.
Ever have the feeling you're on the right street, but it's so dark you can't find the right house?
Well, now, if Ralph took those pictures, how did Tony get a hold of them and why was he burning them? Blackmail, do you think?
This is not exactly the kind of picture you get 4 for a quarter on Santa Monica Pier.
Well, if it is blackmail, what in the world does it have to do with Reinhardt's disappearance?
It's a good question to ask Ralph. You got his phone number?
No, information should have it, though.
Liza, the housekeeper, might have it.
You want to talk to her?
Yeah.
Reinhardt residence.
Liza, this is Barnaby Jones.
Oh, Mr. Jones, it's terrible.
What's the matter?
It's Mr. Reinhardt. They found him. He's dead.
Guthrie.
I'm sorry, Ms. Reinhardt.
He was here all the time we were looking for him. He was here in his car, dead.
Barnaby, miss?
I'd like to go home now, please.
Of course.
Identical.
Let's see if there are any other loose ends we can tie up. Also identical.
Pretty tough way to find your man, huh, Barnaby?
Yeah. How do you read it, Cully?
Death by natural causes. You know about Reinhardt's bad heart, don't you?
Yeah, his lawyer said something about that.
Well, there are no skid marks or other signs of anything out of the ordinary. I figure the coroner's preliminary report will say he died of a heart attack, either before he ran his car off the road or immediately after.
Kind of a lonely stretch of road. Did you get an anonymous tip on where to find the car and the body?
Yeah. How'd you know?
Educated guess. If I had to guess again, I'd say that the autopsy report would reveal that death occurred 10 to 12 hours ago.
Yeah, that's what I'd guess. Yeah, I'll be right with you. Excuse me.
You hardly looked at the body. How do you know that it was dead for 10 or 12 hours?
I figured it would take that long for the body to lose all traces of having been refrigerated.
Refrigerator? The empty refrigerator you told me about.
Yes, at 42 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, refrigeration almost completely stops the process of decomposition, making it appear that the body was dead a much shorter period. In the case of Reinhardt, I would say 4 days shorter.
You gonna let the sheriff in on this?
As soon as I can prove it. See you back at the motel.
Mr. Jones, come in. I guess now that your job is finished here, you'll be going back to Los Angeles.
No. I don't think I'll be leaving right away. At least not until we settle a few things between the sheriff, you, me, and your boyfriend, Tony.
Am I supposed to understand what that means?
I think so.
Tony and a woman, apparently. So?
So the woman is wearing your bracelet. Did Ralph try to blackmail you with this?
Blackmail? That's ridiculous. I couldn't pay it even if it were true. I don't get anything worth mentioning from Guthrie's estate. You can check with Mr. Phillips, the estate lawyer.
I already have. That's the reason I've been chasing my tail for the last 3 days. I couldn't find out any way that you could profit from your husband's death. If you killed him, then everything would just be tied up in probate.
Of course.
Then I remembered something that I had seen over at Tony's beach house. The colors on his painting palette. The same pale magentas, same muted yellows, carrot yellows like those over there. Same warm Italian pink. Tony didn't let me look at one canvas. That was a Degas forgery, wasn't it?
We get deeper and deeper into this Alice's Wonderland, don't we?
Well, I think it would have required that type of imagination to rip off a man like your husband. And then he died before you could switch the pictures. So you had to keep him on ice until you did. That's what happened, didn't it?
No. Of course not. This isn't a forgery. This is real.
Degas was a very talented man, and so is Tony. He even did a pretty good job of drawing it.
What are you doing?
Paint's not dry underneath. That's because it takes a full 4 weeks to dry a freshly painted canvas all the way through.
6 or 7 weeks sometimes. Honey, get the car and bring it around back.
Oh, you're going to take me somewhere the way you took Ralph and got rid of him.
What happened to Ralph was an accident.
Shut up.
It was an accident, Mr. Jones.
Well, if that's true, you're going to have a tough time proving it if I turn up dead, too.
Stay where you are, Mr. Jones. Abby, move!
Tony, tell him I was only trying to help you. Please, tell him. Tony!
I said get the car!
Lee.
Oh. Hello, operator. This is an emergency. Get me the sheriff.
Well, I'm sorry about your client, Mr. Jones. Guess he's in the same boat as me. We both have to look for a new source of money. Need a housekeeper?
Well, after you talk to the estate lawyer, you may find that you don't have to do any more housekeeping. It seems Guthrie Reinhardt wasn't as tight-fisted as everyone thought he was, at least as far as you're concerned.
You mean I mentioned in his will?
In big, round numbers.
And me with nobody to spend any of it on.
Well, I guess we ought to be moving along.
Are you in the book in case I ever get down your way?
He sure is.
I'll be seeing you, Liza.
You bet your sweet patootie you will.
The evening sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the beautifully appointed studio. Inside, 2 figures stood in close consultation, staring intently at an easel that held a breathtaking piece of art. It was a Quinn Martin production, a compelling narrative that would come to be known as The Portrait of Evil, featuring the remarkable talents of Buddy Ebsen, Lee Meriwether, Donna Mills, Neva Patterson, Shelley Novak, and Kurt Kastner, with a special guest appearance by Alan Feinstein. The man turned to the woman beside him, his eyes shining with a mixture of pride and anxiety as he asked her what she thought of the work. She gasped in genuine admiration, pronouncing it absolutely fantastic and noting that she could not tell any difference between the 2 pieces. The man nodded, confirming that this was exactly his point and that their plan was going to work perfectly. However, the woman felt a sudden wave of hesitation, pointing out that creating a miniature replica was one thing, but getting away with a copy of something so massive was an entirely different matter. The artist brushed her fears aside, promising that he would have the Degas finished by that very night, inviting her to his place so she could be the ultimate judge of its quality. The woman sighed, reminding him that he was not the person they needed to fool. Her husband, Guthrie, was the true expert in the field. She warned that if they attempted to make the switch, and he spotted the artwork as a forgery, they would not even be able to leave the country before he had the police pursuing them. Frustrated, the artist threw his hands up and told her to forget the whole thing, suggesting bitterly that she should just stay married to that miserly older man. The woman stepped closer, comforting him by saying that she knew exactly what she wanted, but she simply believed it would be much safer to seek a formal divorce so they could still travel to Europe together as they had originally planned. The young man shook his head, reminding her that they had already been through this discussion many times. He was completely broke, and he knew that when she left her husband, she would receive absolutely nothing. Reinhard had taken care of that detail long ago before he married her, tying up all his millions in his museum foundation. The woman looked at him affectionately, suggesting that they would still have each other, but the artist replied that he was used to starving alone, not with a wife and potentially a few children. He explained that without money, he would be forced to give up his painting entirely. The woman vowed that she would never let him give up his passion. Hearing this, the artist urged her to let them finish what they had already started. He calculated that in 4 days, the Degas would be dry enough to allow them to make the switch. Their plan was to take off for Europe with the 2 original paintings, selling them for $300,000 or perhaps even more, while praying that Guthrie would not discover the forgeries until much later. He added with a sly smile that even if the old man did find out, he would have a very difficult time convincing the police that he had not accidentally purchased copies in the first place, which would serve the old typewriter right. Suddenly, a cold, harsh voice boomed from the doorway, startling them both. Guthrie stood there, his eyes flashing with anger. The artist stammered in shock, uttering the old man's name and admitting that he thought he would be miles away by that hour. Guthrie glared at them, replying that, unfortunately for them, he had been forced to come back to retrieve some important papers he had forgotten. The artist stepped forward defensively, declaring that it was not Abby's fault and taking all the blame upon himself. Guthrie would hear none of it, shouting at the young man, calling him dirty, filthy scum, and ordering him to get out of his house immediately, never to return. Turning his furious gaze to his wife, Guthrie ordered Abby to go to her room at once. As she turned to leave, the immense stress of the confrontation took a sudden, terrible toll on the elderly man. He clutched his chest, gasping for air, and Abby cried out in terror that it was his heart. Both of them watched in horror as Reinhard collapsed. Abby called his name repeatedly in panic, shouting that there were some pills in his room, weeping that this could not be happening. She rocked back and forth, crying out to her husband that he could not do this to her. The artist moved quickly to her side, grabbing her shoulders and telling her to stop. "Oh my God," she whispered, asking what they were supposed to do now. She remembered that the doctor had warned Guthrie repeatedly about his fragile heart, and now everything was ruined. She lamented that the lawyers would have the entire estate locked up in probate, including the paintings and everything else, and she moved to call a doctor. The artist stopped her instantly, urging her to wait. He pointed out that it would take exactly 4 days until the copy was ready for the switch, and suggested that only then should they let the world know that Guthrie was dead. Abby gasped, protesting that they could not possibly do such a thing. The artist countered by asking why not, since nobody else knew about the sudden death except the 2 of them. Abby argued that they could not just hide a body, but the man insisted, claiming he knew just the perfect place to keep him hidden for a few days. Meanwhile, a few days later, a friendly face arrived at a beautiful coastal estate. A man greeted his guest, apologizing for being late and explaining that he had run into a bit of heavy traffic coming out of Los Angeles. The host smiled, expressing how glad he was that his friend could make it, remarking on how much he loved the scenic drive up the coast because Santa Barbara always brought back wonderful memories. He guided his guest toward the back patio where Abby was waiting. The host introduced his friend, Barnaby Jones, to Mrs. Reinhardt. Barnaby, a seasoned and brilliant private investigator, greeted her warmly and asked if there was still no word from her husband. Abby shook her head sadly. Another man present, Mr. Walter Morgan, spoke up, expressing how anxious he was to talk to Guthrie, but Abby tried to calm him, repeating that she had no new information. Walter admitted that while he had been anxious the previous day, he was now beginning to feel a sense of total panic. Abby explained that she really did not expect to hear from her husband before he returned from his trip, but Walter pointed out that she had originally mentioned a week, or perhaps even longer. Barnaby stepped into the conversation, noting that Walter was convinced he would be ruined financially unless they managed to locate Reinhard before Monday. Walter agreed, asking Barnaby to take it easy on him because the pressure was immense. Barnaby then addressed Mrs. Reinhardt, hoping she did not mind his involvement, explaining that Walter had asked him personally to help locate her missing husband. Upon hearing that Barnaby was a detective, Abby seemed startled. Walter defended his choice, stating that while Abby claimed Guthrie was merely on an art-buying trip, he had been unable to hold a conversation with him and considered him completely missing. Barnaby offered a piece of calm wisdom, telling Walter that merely thrashing around wildly in the water was not going to get him across the lake successfully. Barnaby recalled that Walter had mentioned an appointment Guthrie had a couple of nights prior to meet with some attorneys and sign important papers regarding a merger. Walter exclaimed that he stood to lose $500,000 in commissions simply because Reinhard had disappeared into thin air. Abby questioned Mr. Morgan, asking if it had ever occurred to him that perhaps Guthrie had simply changed his mind about their business deal. Walter shook his head vigorously, explaining that it was not just his deal, but Guthrie's own deal, and unless something terrible had happened to him, the old man would never miss closing such a deal for all the art in Rome. Barnaby asked if Walter had an appointment with the lawyers to discuss a potential extension, and Walter agreed excitedly that it was an excellent idea, deciding to leave to pursue that lead. After Walter departed, Barnaby turned back to Abby, gently asking her to share anything at all that she could think of. Abby looked at her watch, claiming that she had an appointment herself, but Barnaby promised he had only a question or two. He asked if her husband had mentioned anything specific about his destination. Abby explained that to anyone who did not know him well, it might sound a bit strange, but her husband was a highly eccentric collector. Barnaby nodded, noting that he had read about his eccentricity. Abby continued, explaining that what people probably had not read was how paranoid Guthrie had become about art dealers intentionally jacking up their prices every time they caught wind that Guthrie Reinhard was making a new acquisition. Because of this paranoia, she explained, he kept all his traveling plans completely secret and would just take off unexpectedly. All she knew was that he was on a buying trip, and he could be anywhere from London to New York or Paris. Barnaby mused that if he had taken his own car, the probability was high that he had not traveled quite that far, unless he had left the vehicle at an airport. Abby agreed that it was true, but repeated that she really had to leave. Barnaby politely let her go, stating that if he required any more information, he would call her. Left alone on the patio, the housekeeper, a cheerful woman named Liza, approached Barnaby with a tray of fresh pastries, lamenting that she guessed she had fixed all of them for nothing. Barnaby smiled warmly, assuring her that he would never turn down a delicious cherry tart in a month, whether it took an hour to eat or not. He took a bite and pronounced it absolutely delicious. Liza chuckled, remarking that flattery would get him everywhere, and introduced herself as Liza. Barnaby introduced himself in return, and Liza lowered her voice, mentioning that she had overheard his conversation from the window. She confessed that she did not like sticking her nose into other people's business, but if she were the one looking for Mr. Reinhardt, she would definitely try searching in Los Angeles. Barnaby looked intrigued and asked why she suggested Los Angeles. Liza revealed that it was because that was where the towels mostly came from. When Barnaby questioned what she meant by towels, she clarified that she meant hotel towels. She explained that every single time the master took his car to go on one of his secret art-buying trips, he ended up driving toward Los Angeles, and when he returned, his luggage always contained towels from various hotels. Barnaby asked if there was any particular hotel he seemed to favor, but Liza replied that they were different ones all the time, which she guessed was his clever way of keeping his true whereabouts a total secret. She then offered him another tart, but Barnaby politely declined, stating that one was his absolute limit when he had to drive. He then playfully asked Liza if she enjoyed dancing, mentioning that there was a truly fine dance hall in town, and she promised to give it some thought. A short while later, Abby arrived hurriedly at the artist's beach house, looking deeply distressed. Tony greeted her with surprise, reminding her that they had firmly agreed it was not wise for them to be seen together until this entire situation was over. Abby explained that something unexpected had happened because Walter Morgan had come by the estate again looking for Guthrie, but this time he had brought Barnaby Jones, a private detective, along with him. Tony was shocked, asking if Morgan suspected anything foul. Abby reassured him that Walter was just frantic about their massive business deal and had hired Jones simply to help find Guthrie. Tony calculated that they only needed 2 more days because the painting would be completely dry by then. Abby worried about what she should tell Jones if he returned, and Tony instructed her to stick firmly to her original story, emphasizing that she knew absolutely nothing. Relieved but anxious, Abby agreed, and Tony urged her to go before anyone noticed. He held her close, telling her how much he had missed her, and she reciprocated the feeling, looking forward to the moment a few days later when they would have all the time in the world together. She asked if she could see the painting, and Tony proudly unveiled it, pronouncing it perfect. Abby marveled at it, telling him he really was a wonderful artist, and Tony joked that in a few years, people would start trying to forge his own masterpieces before declaring his love for her. On a nearby beach, a young woman named Cindy was sitting on a blanket, looking rather bored as her boyfriend snapped photographs. She complained to Ralph that this was the umpteenth time he had dragged her out to this isolated beach when all he ever did was take crummy pictures, asking him what he was shooting now. Ralph smiled mysteriously, declaring that he was photographing a masterpiece, a magnificent $1 million masterpiece. Cindy laughed, noting that she had asked a silly question. Back in the city, Barnaby was visiting an art gallery with his daughter-in-law, Betty Jones. Betty looked at a modern piece and called it fantastic, but Barnaby joked that it looked exactly like somebody had dropped a large crate of eggs directly onto a kitchen floor. Betty chuckled, telling Barnaby that he still did not know how to properly look at modern paintings. Barnaby replied that he had tried looking at them every possible way, including standing completely on his head, but right now, he was far more interested in discussing Guthrie Reinhardt. An art expert named Charlotte walked over, asking what Barnaby wanted with that old skinflint. Barnaby explained that he was looking for him on behalf of a client, believing he was holed up somewhere in Los Angeles. Charlotte scoffed, asking if it was another one of his famous art raids. When Barnaby asked for clarification on the term, Charlotte explained that Guthrie would come skulking into the art scene like a vulture, using his various stooges to buy up all the work of talented new artists for cheap, and then forcing the market prices to rise by hoarding their paintings. She added bitterly that the worst part of it was that Reinhardt did not even genuinely like art, but was purely in it for the financial gain. Barnaby inquired how he might contact one of these buyers, but Charlotte explained that they never publicly announced who they were fronting for, using different individuals each time to poor-mouth the galleries into selling at a low price. Barnaby mused aloud, wondering why a man as wealthy and important as Reinhardt would not employ a professional agent to ride herd on his art acquisitions. Charlotte suggested that he might try speaking with George Andre, the well-known art critic, as rumors suggested he was the true artistic eyes and ears behind Reinhardt's throne. Barnaby thanked Charlotte kindly and jokingly added that the next time she ran across a primitive painting by Grandma Moses, she should give him a call, prompting her to playfully tell him to get out of her gallery. Back at the Reinhardt estate, Liza was working diligently in the kitchen when Abby walked in. Liza called out to her, explaining that she was down in the cellar because the main refrigerator was completely locked, making it impossible for her to prepare dinner. Abby noted that everything should be upstairs in the kitchen refrigerator, and Liza explained that Mr. Reinhardt had moved it downstairs before he left. When Abby asked why, Liza replied that he wanted to make room for some fine wines and champagnes that he wanted chilled, so he locked it up securely because he did not trust anybody anymore. A short while later, Ralph Forrester, Guthrie's nephew, arrived at the estate. He greeted Abby warmly, remarking that she was looking as great as ever. Abby thanked him politely, but Ralph noted that it had been quite lonely around the house without her and suggested she shouldn't stay away so long. Abby replied coldly that there were many things she shouldn't have done, including introducing him to her husband in the first place. Ralph told her to stop wearing her heart on her sleeve, reminding her that they were never that serious about each other. He recalled that Uncle Guthrie certainly thought so when he ordered him to get out and stay out, which Ralph considered a very heavy price to pay since his only real talent was living off his uncle's immense wealth. Abby remarked that living off others had always been his primary problem, accusing him of selling himself short. Ralph smiled, admitting that he actually possessed another talent, an amateur's knack for photography. He pulled a set of photographs from an envelope and handed them to her. Abby gasped as she looked at them, realizing they were intimate photos of her and Tony. She asked with horror if this was blackmail, but Ralph insisted it was nothing personal, stating that she was absolute aces in his book, and knowing old Guthrie, he did not blame her at all for looking elsewhere for some genuine affection. Abby admitted that while she knew she shouldn't be shocked by his low behavior, she truly was. Ralph calmly demanded $25,000. Abby protested immediately, stating that she did not possess that kind of money and he knew it. Ralph countered that those pictures were the only thing standing between him and a crummy job paying $2 an hour, expressing confidence that she would figure out a creative way to get the cash. Abby pleaded with him to be reasonable, explaining that the only cash she ever saw was a very small household allowance. Ralph asked if she would prefer him to go directly to his uncle instead, noting that while Guthrie was a notorious miser, he did possess an immense amount of personal pride, and he doubted Abby would mind shelling out the money just to keep the pictures completely out of circulation. He promised to return the following day to see what she could do. Meanwhile, Barnaby and Betty caught up with the art critic, George Andre, at an upscale restaurant. Barnaby introduced himself, but Mr. Andre remarked smoothly that when a true gourmet eats, he prefers to eat entirely alone. Barnaby apologized but stated he hoped to talk about Guthrie Reinhardt. Andre softened slightly, noting that since they were discussing his primary bread and butter, they could speak. Barnaby thanked him and noted that he understood Andre was Reinhardt's eyes and ears in the art world. Andre proudly added that he was also his taste, his perception, and his deep discernment. Andre noticed Betty standing nearby and asked if that beautiful young lady was with Barnaby, and Barnaby introduced her as his daughter-in-law, Betty Jones. Andre warmly invited her to join them, and Betty thanked him. Barnaby asked Betty if she had found any luck with her search, and Betty reported that no one even remotely resembling Guthrie Reinhardt had checked into any of the better hotels in the area. Barnaby turned back to Andre, stating that if anyone knew the current whereabouts of Mr. Reinhardt, it would be him, asking if Guthrie was presently buying art in Los Angeles. Andre responded with absolute certainty that he was not, explaining that if Guthrie were anywhere in the world making new acquisitions, he would be right by his side. Barnaby asked if he was absolutely positive because it was highly important that they locate him. Andre assured him, revealing that he had actually spoken to Mr. Reinhardt just 2 days ago regarding an important young muralist whose work had come onto the market. Andre admitted he thought they could make a purchase at an exceptionally good price, but Guthrie was surprisingly not interested because he was tied up with an important business merger. Barnaby thanked him, noting that the information answered his question perfectly. As they prepared to leave, Andre expressed disappointment that they were departing so soon, musing that life was full of sad goodbyes. Later that afternoon, Ralph returned to the Reinhardt estate, carrying an envelope. He encountered Liza and told her that he didn't think he was going to wait for Abby to come home after all. He handed Liza the envelope, asking her to give it to Abby as a sort of gift, and to tell her that he simply couldn't go through with his plan, confident that Abby would understand. Just then, Barnaby Jones walked into the room and greeted them. Liza introduced Ralph as Mr. Reinhardt's nephew. Ralph shook Barnaby's hand politely, asking how he did, and Barnaby returned the greeting. Liza informed Ralph that Mr. Jones had been looking all over for his uncle because he was a private detective. Ralph looked surprised, asking why he was looking for him and if there was something wrong. Barnaby explained, without wanting to sound overly sinister, that his uncle had not been seen by anyone since Tuesday night. Ralph calculated that it had only been 3 days, which he felt was not too long, especially if the old man was on one of his silly art-buying trips. Barnaby revealed that he had already checked that possibility out and confirmed he was definitely not buying art. Ralph asked if Barnaby believed something bad had happened to him, and Barnaby admitted it was beginning to look that way, noting that passing up a multi-million-dollar merger deal did not sound like the shrewd Guthrie Reinhardt he had read about. Ralph agreed that it did not sound like his uncle at all. On second thought, Ralph decided to take the envelope back from Liza, claiming it was no big deal after all, and politely said goodbye to Barnaby before leaving. Barnaby turned to Liza, mentioning that he had stopped by Mr. Reinhardt's lawyer on his way over and learned that the entire estate was set to go into the museum foundation upon his death. He asked how that arrangement sat with Mrs. Reinhardt and the nephew. Liza replied that she generally preferred to keep her nose completely out of complex family matters. She asked Barnaby what he was thinking, and Barnaby confessed he was thinking what he usually thought when he ran into a total dead end, which meant he needed to go back to the very beginning and start all over again. Liza asked if there was any way she could help him, and Barnaby inquired about who the absolute last person was to see Mr. Reinhardt before he disappeared the other night. Liza recalled that Mrs. Reinhardt was with him, noting that she herself had the night off to do some dancing at the ballroom. Barnaby asked if anyone else had been present at the house, and Liza remembered that a young man named Tony Barrow had been there. She explained that he was an artist of sorts whom Abby had found in town, and Guthrie had hired him to restore some valuable antique furniture. Barnaby asked where he could find him, and Liza explained that he should have been down in the cellar finishing an antique chair, but he was currently missing from the estate. She suggested Barnaby try his private residence down in Carpinteria and offered to fetch the exact address for him, which Barnaby accepted gratefully. Back at the beach house, Abby was in a state of high distress, telling Tony that he should have stalled Ralph off much longer and told him to come back in a few days. She worried that he was probably waiting for her at the main house right now, wondering what she could possibly say to him. Tony told her to say anything at all, suggesting she promised to give him the $25,000 the next day, because by that time it wouldn't matter, since they would be long gone. Abby asked anxiously if the painting was completely dry, and Tony clarified that the surface was dry, which was all they truly needed to worry about. Abby suggested urgently that they switch the paintings immediately and leave, but Tony told her to hold on, reminding her that they had to take care of something else first. When she asked when, he suggested setting it up for the following day. He asked if she felt any better, and Abby confessed she would only feel truly better when they were safely sitting on a plane bound for Europe, expressing her intense anticipation. Tony smiled, telling her there was no chance he would leave without her. Suddenly, a frantic knocking came at the door. Ralph burst into the beach house, looking disheveled and frightened. He gasped out Abby's name, and Tony moved quickly toward him. But before anyone could speak, a confrontation ensued, and Ralph collapsed onto the floor. Abby cried out his name in horror, rushing to him and asking if he was all right. Tony knelt beside him, checking for a pulse, and looked up at her with a grim expression, announcing that Ralph was dead. A short time later, Betty arrived at the beach house, surprised to find Barnaby already there. She asked how he had managed to find the place, and Barnaby smiled, joking that it was by being the super detective she always hoped he would be. He explained that he had made a quick telephone call to the Reinhardt residence, and the helpful housekeeper had told him exactly where Tony's beach house was located. He asked Betty what she had discovered for her proud and loving father-in-law lately. Betty admitted she had done a great deal of work, but absolutely nothing had come of it despite double-checking everything. She revealed she had even made direct phone calls to Guthrie's business connections in Europe and confirmed he was nowhere to be found. Barnaby asked about the car he was driving, and Betty reported that the vehicle was not to be found at any railroad station, bus depot, or airline terminal within a 200-mile radius of Santa Barbara. She lamented that it was as though Guthrie had completely vanished off the face of the earth, and Barnaby admitted he was beginning to feel the exact same way, like he was chasing a literal ghost. As they approached the door, Tony Barrow walked out to greet them. He looked surprised and asked if he was Tony Barrow, which Tony confirmed, asking what he could do for them. Barnaby introduced himself as a private investigator and introduced Betty. Tony politely invited them inside his home. Barnaby walked in, looking around, and remarked that it was a very attractive place. Tony thanked him, apologizing for the mess, and explaining that he was burning some things in the fireplace. Barnaby sniffed the air, noting that the scent was highly pungent and smelled exactly like burning photographic film. Tony quickly covered, claiming he was just destroying some old photographs that he wanted to get rid of. Barnaby looked toward a covered canvas on an easel, remarking that old photos certainly don't compare with the real thing. Tony stepped in front of the easel defensively, and Betty smiled warmly, asking Tony to forgive Barnaby because he was essentially the reincarnated cat that curiosity killed. Barnaby brought the conversation back to Mr. Reinhardt, noting that he understood Tony had been over at the estate last Tuesday night. Tony explained that he was simply doing some restoration work on an antique chair for him. Just then, the old beach house creaked loudly, and Betty remarked that these creaky beach houses almost seemed to have a life of their own. Tony asked nervously what this visit was all about, and if something bad had happened to Reinhardt. Barnaby noted that he hadn't exactly said that, but explained he had called the residents to ask if there was more work for Tony, and Mrs. Reinhardt had mentioned her husband hadn't been heard from since the night Tony was there. Tony claimed that he had completely finished his assigned work and had no remaining reason to go back to the estate. Barnaby asked if Mr. Reinhardt had indicated whether his trip was something other than another routine art hunt, but Tony replied that the old man never discussed his personal comings and goings with him. He asked if that was all they needed, and Barnaby thanked him for his cooperation. As they walked outside, Barnaby pointed to a car parked up on the hill, remarking that it looked remarkably like one belonging to Guthrie's nephew, Ralph, and asked if Tony knew him. Tony lied smoothly, stating that he did not. Barnaby mused that it was probably just a coincidence and that Ralph might be visiting another house along the beach, telling Tony to let him know if there was anything else he could do. As they drove away, Betty asked Barnaby what was troubling him. Barnaby explained that Liza, the housekeeper, had explicitly stated that Tony had not finished his restoration work on the chair, yet Tony claimed he had. Betty suggested that perhaps Liza simply didn't know the work was completed, and Barnaby admitted that was possible. He instructed Betty to return to town and check into Ralph Forrester to see if he had any close friends who owned a beach house in that specific area where he might have dropped in. Barnaby returned to the Reinhardt estate to speak with Abby, but Liza met him at the door, expressing her deep regret and stating that Mrs. Reinhardt had developed a severe headache. She offered to disturb her if it was absolutely important, but Barnaby insisted it was no bother at all. He asked Liza if she could help him with one detail, recalling her earlier mention of the antique chair. He asked if she was absolutely certain Tony hadn't finished it. Liza confirmed she didn't think so, and Barnaby asked if he might take a look. Liza agreed and guided him down to the workroom in the cellar, pointing to the chair on the bench. Barnaby examined it, noting that it was a very long way from being finished, remarking that if it wasn't done by the time Mr. Reinhardt returned, Tony would undoubtedly hear a lot of loud and angry words from the old man. Liza agreed, noting that artists were unpredictable, and explaining that Tony had claimed it was far more important to first finish a specific picture he was currently painting. Barnaby looked around the cellar, noticing heavy padlocks everywhere. He pointed out that there were locks on the workroom, locks on the greenhouse, and now even a brand new lock on the large refrigerator. Liza remarked that the lock on the refrigerator was completely new and that the boss hadn't given her a key before he departed. Barnaby asked if she minded if he opened it, and Liza told him to go ahead, admitting she would love to see what kind of exotic wine the old miser thought was so incredibly important that it required being locked up securely. Barnaby used his tools to skillfully open the latch, but when they peered inside, they discovered the large appliance was entirely empty. Liza remarked that Barnaby was quite a handy man to have around, but noted with surprise that it had been empty the entire time. Barnaby looked closely inside, replying thoughtfully that he was not so sure about that. Later, Barnaby met up with Betty back at their motel. Betty explained she had received his message and asked what was going on. Barnaby explained that he thought she might want to talk to Tony again because it turned out he was definitely not telling the truth about Ralph Forrester. Barnaby revealed that while he was checking into Ralph's background, he ran into his girlfriend, Cindy, who was actively looking for him. Cindy had revealed that Ralph had actually introduced her to Tony in a local restaurant 2 weeks prior. The evening air was thick with anticipation as the light cast long shadows across the private studio. The room was filled with the heavy scent of oil paints, turpentine, and aged canvas. On the easel stood a masterpiece in progress, a brilliant imitation of a classic Degas. Tony Barrow stood back, wiping his stained hands on an old rag. A smirk played across his face as he turned to Abby Reinhard. He asked her what she thought of it. Abby stepped closer, her eyes scanning the meticulous brushstrokes, the perfect replication of light and form. She murmured that it was fantastic, admitting that she could not tell any difference between the two pieces. Tony smiled, noting that this was exactly what he meant, and assured her that the plan was going to work perfectly. However, Abby remained hesitant, staring at the canvas with a growing sense of unease. She pointed out that while a miniature copy like that was one thing, getting away with a replication of something this massive was an entirely different challenge. Tony shrugged off her worry, promising that he would have the Degas completely finished that very night. He invited her to come to his place later, so she could judge the final results for herself. Abby sighed, turning away from the painting. She reminded Tony that she was not the one they needed to fool. Guthrie was the true expert in this field. She warned him that if they made the switch and Guthrie spotted it as a forgery, they would not even be able to leave the country before he set the police on their trail. Frustrated by her caution, Tony threw his hands up and told her to forget the whole thing. He bitterly suggested that she stay married to that old, miserly man instead. Abby quickly moved to comfort him, calling him darling and explaining that she knew exactly what she wanted, but she simply believed it would be much safer to just get a divorce. She suggested they could still travel to Europe exactly as they had planned. Tony shook his head, reminding her that they had already been through this discussion many times. He was completely broke. He pointed out that when she left her husband, she would get absolutely nothing because Reinhard had taken care of that before he married her, tying up all his millions in his museum foundation. Abby looked at him softly, stating that they would still have each other. Tony replied grimly that he was used to starving alone, but not with a wife and potentially a few children. He asked her if she failed to see that he would have to completely give up his passion for painting. Abby insisted that she would never let him give up his art. Tony seized the moment, urging her to let them finish what they had already started. He explained that in 4 days, the Degas would be dry enough to make the switch successfully. Their plan was to take off for Europe with the 2 original paintings, which they could easily sell for $300,000, or perhaps even more. They would just have to pray that Guthrie would not discover the forgeries until much later. Tony laughed softly, adding that even if the old man did discover it, he would have a very hard time convincing the authorities that he had not accidentally purchased copies in the first place. He remarked that it would serve the old man right. Suddenly, the heavy wooden door swung open, and the stern figure of Guthrie Reinhard stepped into the room. Abby gasped, whispering his name in shock, noting that she thought he would be miles away by that time. Guthrie glared at them, stating coldly that unfortunately he had to return for some important papers that he had forgotten. Tony tried to step between them, stammering that it was not the fault of Abby and taking all the blame upon himself. Guthrie screamed at Tony, calling him dirty, filthy scum, and commanded him to never step foot in his house again, ordering him to get out immediately. Tony retreated, leaving Abby alone with her furious husband. Guthrie turned his wrath toward Abby, pointing toward the stairs and ordering her to go to her room at once. But as he spoke, his face twisted in sudden pain. He clutched his chest, gasping for air. Abby panicked, crying out his name as Guthrie collapsed heavily onto the floor. She screamed for Tony, shouting that it was his heart. Tony rushed back into the room, staring down at the fallen man. Abby wept, begging Guthrie to open his eyes, telling Tony that there were some medicinal pills in his room. She kept repeating that this could not be happening. Tony checked for a pulse, his face turning pale as he realized the truth. He looked up and told her that it was too late. Abby collapsed in tears, sobbing that Guthrie could not do this to her. Tony tried to calm her down, grabbing her shoulders and begging her to stop. Abby cried out in horror, asking what they were supposed to do now. She mentioned that the doctor had warned Guthrie repeatedly about his weak heart, and now everything was ruined. She lamented that the lawyers would have the entire estate locked up in probate, including the paintings and everything they had dreamed of. She reached for the telephone, saying she had better call the doctor immediately. Tony jumped up and stopped her hand, telling her to wait. He reasoned that they only needed 4 days until the copy was dry enough for the switch. He proposed that they simply wait 4 days before letting anyone know that Guthrie was dead. Abby stared at him in disbelief, saying they could not possibly do that. Tony questioned why not, pointing out that absolutely nobody knew about his death except the two of them. Abby protested, asking how they could just hide a body. Tony answered confidently, asking why they could not, and stated that he knew the exact place to do it. A few days later, a dusty automobile pulled up near the sunlit coast of Santa Barbara. Barnaby Jones stepped out, adjusting his hat as he walked toward Walter Morgan, who was waiting anxiously on a wide patio overlooking the ocean. Walter greeted Barnaby, apologizing for being late and explaining that he ran into a heavy amount of traffic coming out of Los Angeles. Barnaby smiled warmly, stating that he was glad he could make it, remarking that he always loved the scenic drive up the coast because Santa Barbara brought back wonderful memories. Walter led him toward the back patio where Abby Reinhard was sitting quietly, staring out at the sea. Walter introduced Barnaby to Mrs. Reinhard, then asked her if there was still no word from her husband. Abby shook her head sadly, confirming that there was nothing. Walter turned to Barnaby, explaining his extreme anxiety to talk to Guthrie, but Abby interrupted gently, stating that as she kept telling him, she really did not expect to hear from her husband before he returned from his trip. Walter grew agitated, stating that yesterday he was merely anxious, but today he was beginning to panic. He reminded her that she had originally mentioned a week, or perhaps even longer. Barnaby stepped forward, politely introducing himself as a private investigator and explaining that Walter had asked him to help find her husband. Abby seemed startled, repeating the word detective with a hint of nervousness. She maintained her composure, reiterating that Guthrie was simply on an art-buying trip and could not be reached easily. Walter scoffed, stating that as far as he was concerned, the man was entirely missing. Barnaby urged Walter to calm down, using the analogy that merely thrashing around in the water was not going to get a person across the lake. Walter explained that Guthrie had a crucial appointment a couple of nights ago to meet with some attorneys and sign important papers regarding a massive business merger. Walter shouted that he stood to lose $500,000 in commissions simply because Reinhard had suddenly disappeared. Abby looked at him coldly, asking Mr. Morgan if it had ever occurred to him that perhaps Guthrie had simply changed his mind about the entire deal. Walter insisted it was not his deal, but rather Guthrie's own project, and asserted that unless something terrible had happened to him, Guthrie would never miss closing this deal for all the art in Rome. Barnaby turned to Walter, asking if he had an appointment with the lawyers to discuss a potential extension. Walter paused, realizing the wisdom in the advice, and agreed that it was an excellent idea. He thanked Barnaby, asked Abby if she needed any more assistance, and departed quickly. Barnaby remained on the patio with Abby, asking her if there was anything at all she could think of that might help. Abby checked her watch, claiming that she actually had an appointment herself. Barnaby smiled politely, stating that he just had a question or two. He asked if her husband had mentioned anything about where he was planning to go. Abby explained that to anyone who did not know him well, it might sound a bit strange, but her husband was a very eccentric art collector. Barnaby nodded, noting that he had read about his eccentricities. Abby went on to explain that Guthrie had become incredibly paranoid about art dealers jacking up their prices every single time they discovered that Guthrie Reinhard was looking to make a new acquisition. Because of that, she explained, he kept all his trips completely secret and would just take off unexpectedly. She claimed that all she knew was that he was going on a buying trip, and he could literally be anywhere from London to New York or Paris. Barnaby mused that if he took his private vehicle, the probability was high that he did not travel that far, unless he had left his car at the airport. Abby agreed that it was true, but insisted she really had to leave. Barnaby tipped his hat, stating that if he needed any more information, he would call her. As Abby walked away, a cheerful woman named Liza emerged from the house carrying a tray. She looked at the untouched table and remarked that it seemed she had prepared everything for nothing. Barnaby smiled broadly, assuring her that he never turned down a fresh cherry tart in his life, with or without an hour to spare. He took a bite and pronounced it absolutely delicious. Liza laughed, telling him that flattery would get him everywhere, and introduced herself as Liza. Barnaby introduced himself in return. Liza lowered her voice, admitting that she did not like sticking her nose into the business of other people, but confided that if she were looking for Mr. Reinhardt, she would definitely check Los Angeles. Barnaby looked intrigued and asked why she suggested Los Angeles. Liza revealed that it was because that was where the towels mostly came from. She explained that every time he took his car to go on one of his secret art-buying trips, he would drive toward Los Angeles, and when he returned, his bags always contained various hotel towels. Barnaby asked if there was any particular hotel he favored, but Liza shook her head, saying they were different ones all the time, which she guessed was his way of keeping his whereabouts entirely secret. She offered him another tart, but Barnaby declined, stating that one was his absolute limit when he had to drive. Liza smiled warmly, asking him if he liked dancing, mentioning that there was a wonderful dance ball right in town. Barnaby chuckled, saying he would definitely give that some thought. Meanwhile, at a secluded location, Abby met with Tony Barrow in a state of high anxiety. She asked him what he was doing there, reminding him that they had strictly agreed it was not wise to be seen together until the entire situation was over. Tony tried to calm her, but Abby explained that Walter Morgan had come by the estate again looking for Guthrie, and this time he had brought a private detective named Barnaby Jones. Tony became alarmed, asking if Morgan suspected anything. Abby assured him that Morgan was just frantic about his business deal and had brought the detective to help find Guthrie. Tony insisted that they only needed 2 more days because the painting would be completely dry by then. Abby asked what she was supposed to tell the detective if he returned. Tony told her to stick strictly to her story and pretend she knew absolutely nothing. As they said goodbye, Tony embraced her, telling her how much he missed her, and Abby responded that she missed him too, noting that in a few days they would have all the time in the world together. She asked to see the painting, and Tony proudly displayed it, calling it perfect and a true masterpiece. Abby smiled lovingly, telling him that he was a wonderful artist. On a sun-drenched beach not far away, a young man named Ralph Forrester was busy adjusting a camera with a large telephoto lens. His girlfriend, Cindy, complained loudly, stating that this was the umpteenth time he had dragged her out to this nowhere beach when all he ever did was take crummy pictures. She asked him what he was shooting now. Ralph smiled mysteriously, looking through the viewfinder and stating that he was photographing a masterpiece worth $1 million. Cindy sighed, muttering that she had asked a silly question. Back in Los Angeles, Barnaby Jones visited an art gallery owned by a woman named Charlotte. He remarked that a painting on the wall looked like somebody had dropped a crate of eggs on the kitchen floor. Charlotte laughed, telling Barnaby that he still did not know how to look at modern paintings. Barnaby countered that he had looked at them every possible way, including standing on his head, but noted that right now he was far more interested in gathering information about Guthrie Reinhardt. Charlotte asked what he wanted with that old skinflint. Barnaby explained that he was looking for him on behalf of a client and believed the man was holed up somewhere in Los Angeles. Charlotte laughed knowingly, asking if it was another one of his infamous art raids. Barnaby asked if that was what people called them. Charlotte explained that Guthrie would skulk into town like a vulture, using his stooges to buy up all the paintings of talented new artists and then force the prices to skyrocket by hoarding their work. She added that the worst part was that Reinhardt did not even like art. He was strictly in it for the money. Barnaby asked how he could contact one of these secret buyers. Charlotte explained that they never announced who they were fronting for, using different random people to pour-mouth the galleries into selling cheap. Barnaby wondered aloud why a man as important as Reinhardt would not employ a professional agent to manage his art acquisitions. Charlotte suggested he try talking to George Andre, the prominent art critic, noting that some people believed Andre was the true artistic eyes and ears behind the throne of Reinhardt. Barnaby thanked her warmly, and Charlotte playfully told him to give her a call the next time he ran across a Grandma Moses primitive. Later, back at the Reinhardt estate, Liza was working diligently when Abby entered. Liza called out, explaining that she was down in the cellar but found the secondary refrigerator completely locked. She complained that she could not prepare dinner properly because everything was supposed to be upstairs, but Mr. Reinhardt had moved the unit. Abby looked surprised and asked why he had done that. Liza explained that he wanted to make room for some fine wines and champagnes that he wanted chilled, so he locked it up securely because he did not trust anybody anymore. A short while later, Ralph Forrester arrived at the estate. He greeted Abby with a casual smile, remarking that she was looking as great as ever. Abby thanked him coldly, noting that it had been quiet around the house without him and suggesting he should not stay away so long. Ralph smiled bitterly, mentioning that introducing her to his Uncle Guthrie was one of his biggest mistakes. He told her to stop wearing her heart on her sleeve, reminding her that they were never truly serious about each other anyway. He recounted how Uncle Guthrie had ordered him to get out and stay out, which was a heavy price to pay since his only real talent was living off his uncle's massive fortune. Abby remarked that selling himself short had always been his main problem. Ralph laughed and stated that he actually possessed another talent, an amateur knack for photography. He pulled a set of photographs from an envelope and handed them to her. Abby gasped as she looked at them. She accused him of blackmail, but Ralph insisted it was nothing personal, stating that she was aces in his book, and knowing old Guthrie, he did not blame her for looking elsewhere for some genuine affection. Abby confessed that although she should not be shocked by his actions, she truly was. Ralph demanded $25,000. Abby protested, stating that she had no money and that he knew it. Ralph reminded her that those pictures were all that stood between him and a crummy job paying $2 an hour. He suggested she figure out a way to get the cash, or else he would be forced to go directly to his uncle. He called Guthrie a miser, but noted that the old man still possessed his pride. Ralph promised to return the following day to see what she could do. In a high-end restaurant in the city, Barnaby Jones and his daughter-in-law, Betty Jones, approached the table of George Andre. Barnaby introduced himself, but George politely requested that they speak quietly, noting that when a true gourmet eats, he prefers to eat alone. Barnaby explained that he was hoping to talk about Guthrie Reinhardt. Hearing the name, George smiled and invited them to sit, acknowledging that Reinhardt was essentially his bread and butter. He boasted that he was not only Reinhardt's eyes and ears in the art world, but also his taste, his perception, and his ultimate discernment. He looked admiringly at Betty, asking if that beautiful woman was with Barnaby. Barnaby proudly introduced her as his daughter-in-law. Betty joined them at the table, and Barnaby asked if she had found any luck with her search. Betty shook her head, explaining that no one even resembling Guthrie Reinhardt had checked into any of the major hotels in the area. Barnaby turned back to George, stating that if anyone knew the current whereabouts of the collector, it had to be him. He asked if Reinhardt was currently buying art in Los Angeles. George denied it confidently, stating that if Reinhardt were anywhere in the world making acquisitions, he would be right at his side. He revealed that he had actually spoken to Reinhardt exactly 2 days ago regarding an important young muralist, but Reinhardt had expressed no interest because he was tied up with an important business merger. Barnaby thanked him for the valuable information, and George expressed sadness that they had to leave so soon, remarking that life was full of sad goodbyes. The next day, Barnaby returned to the coast and ran into Ralph Forrester near the beach houses. Liza was nearby and greeted Barnaby warmly. Ralph was holding an envelope and looked slightly flustered. He told Liza that he was not going to wait for Abby to come home and asked her to give Abby the envelope as a sort of gift, instructing her to tell Abby that he simply could not go through with it and that she would understand. Liza introduced Ralph to Barnaby as Mr. Reinhardt's nephew. Ralph shook hands with Barnaby, asking why a private detective was looking for his uncle and if something was wrong. Barnaby explained that Guthrie had not been seen since Tuesday night. Ralph downplayed it, noting that 3 days was not too long for one of his uncle's unusual art-buying trips. Barnaby revealed that he had already checked that angle and confirmed his uncle was definitely not buying art. Ralph appeared genuinely concerned, wondering aloud if something bad had happened to him, noting that passing up a multi-million-dollar merger did not sound like his uncle at all. Ralph changed his mind about the envelope, taking it back from Liza and saying it was no big deal. He said goodbye to Barnaby and drove away quickly. Barnaby spoke with Liza, mentioning that he had stopped by the office of the lawyer for Mr. Reinhardt on his way over. He discovered that the entire massive estate was set to go directly into the museum foundation upon his death, leaving very little for the family. He asked Liza who the last person was to see Reinhardt on Tuesday night. Liza recalled that she had the night off to go dancing, but remembered that a young artist named Tony Barrow had been at the house working on restoring some antique furniture. She suggested Barnaby check Tony's beach house down in Carpinteria and offered to find the exact address for him. At the beach house, Tony was frantically trying to reassure Abby. She was terrified that Ralph would expose them, but Tony insisted that by tomorrow it would not matter because they would be safely on a plane to Europe. He showed her the forgery, explaining that the surface was perfectly dry, which was all they needed to worry about for the switch. He told her to set up the final arrangements for tomorrow. A short while later, Barnaby and Betty arrived at Tony's beach house. Tony greeted them cautiously at the door. Barnaby introduced himself and Betty, asking if they could come in to talk about Guthrie Reinhardt. Tony agreed nervously, inviting them inside his artistic but cluttered home. Barnaby noticed a strong, pungent odor in the air and remarked on it. Tony quickly explained that he was merely burning some old photographs in the fireplace that he wanted to get rid of. Barnaby smiled, looking toward a covered canvas on an easel, noting that photographs could never compare with the real thing. Tony nervously blocked his view, explaining that artists never liked anyone to look at their work until it was completely finished. Betty smiled and asked Tony to forgive Barnaby, joking that he was the reincarnated cat that curiosity killed. Barnaby asked Tony about his visit to the Reinhardt estate on Tuesday night. Tony claimed he was only there to do some basic restoration work on an antique chair and stated that he had called the house later, only to hear from Abby that her husband had not been heard from since that night. He claimed he had finished his work completely and had no reason to return. Barnaby pointed out an automobile parked up on the hill, noting that it looked exactly like the one belonging to Ralph Forrester. Tony denied knowing Ralph, dismissing it as a mere coincidence. Barnaby thanked him for his cooperation and left. As they walked back to their car, Barnaby remarked to Betty that Liza had mentioned Tony had not finished the antique chair, yet Tony claimed he had. He instructed Betty to head back into town to check on Ralph Forrester and see if he had any connection to this specific beach area. Barnaby then returned to the Reinhardt estate to speak with Liza. He asked if he could look at the antique chair Tony was supposed to be working on. Liza led him down into the cellar workroom, pointing to the unfinished chair on the bench. Barnaby examined it, noting it was a long way from being completed. Liza complained about Tony's erratic schedule and pointed out all the new locks that had been placed around the property, including one on the secondary refrigerator. Barnaby examined the lock on the refrigerator, noticing a small piece of fabric caught in the door hinge. He asked Liza to open it, but she explained she did not possess a key. Barnaby used his tools to skillfully pick the lock. When the door swung open, they found the interior completely empty. Barnaby looked closer, stating that he was not entirely sure it had always been empty. Later that afternoon, Betty met Barnaby at a local motel. She revealed that she had located Ralph's girlfriend, Cindy, who confirmed that Ralph had actually introduced her to Tony Barrow in a restaurant 2 weeks ago, proving Tony had lied about not knowing him. She also mentioned that Ralph frequently took her out to that specific beach to take telephoto pictures of the beach houses, particularly Tony's house. Barnaby realized that Ralph must have been taking pictures of Tony and Abby together through the windows, and those were the exact photographs Tony was burning in his fireplace. They rushed back to Tony's beach house, but found it completely deserted. Ralph's car was gone, the rug from the closet was missing, and the painting on the easel had been removed. Barnaby searched the fireplace and managed to salvage a partially burned photograph showing Tony's face alongside a woman's hand wearing a distinctive piece of jewelry. Barnaby mused that they were definitely on the right street, but it was so dark they could not find the right house yet. Suddenly, the telephone rang at the motel. It was Liza calling in a panic. She wept as she told Barnaby that they had just found Mr. Reinhard dead in his car down by a lonely stretch of road. Barnaby and the local sheriff, Cully, arrived at the crash site. The car was resting at the bottom of a ravine. Cully explained that it looked like death by natural causes, noting Reinhard's known history of a weak heart. He figured the old man suffered a heart attack and ran off the road, and mentioned that the coroner's preliminary report would likely agree. He added that they had received an anonymous telephone tip revealing the location of the vehicle. Barnaby examined the body briefly and predicted that the official autopsy would reveal the time of death occurred roughly 10 to 12 hours ago. Cully agreed wholeheartedly. As they walked away, Betty asked Barnaby how he could possibly know the timings so precisely without a thorough medical examination. Barnaby explained that he was actually tracking the effects of the empty refrigerator he had examined earlier. He explained that at a temperature between 42 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit, refrigeration almost completely halts the natural process of decomposition, making it appear as though a body died much more recently than it actually did. In the case of Guthrie Reinhard, Barnaby asserted that he had actually died 4 days earlier, right when he first disappeared, and had been kept hidden in that locked refrigerator to allow the fraudsters time to complete their scheme. Barnaby immediately drove back to the Reinhard estate to confront Abby. He entered the living room where she was sitting quietly. He told her that he would not be leaving for Los Angeles just yet, not until they settled a few crucial matters between themselves, the sheriff and her boyfriend, Tony. Abby tried to play innocent, but Barnaby produced the partially burned photograph, pointing out that the woman in the picture was wearing the exact unique bracelet currently on Abby's wrist. He asked if Ralph had attempted to blackmail her with the evidence. Abby broke down, admitting the truth, but protesting that she could not have paid Ralph anyway because she stood to inherit nothing from the estate due to the foundation clause. Barnaby nodded, explaining that this was exactly why he had been chasing his tail for 3 days, unable to find a financial motive for murder. He then pointed toward the studio, explaining that the ultimate answer lay in the specific colors on Tony's painting palette, the exact pale magentas, muted yellows, and warm Italian pinks that matched the classic Degas masterpiece perfectly. He revealed that Tony had created a brilliant forgery to switch with the original before anyone discovered Guthrie's death, but because Guthrie died unexpectedly of a heart attack during their confrontation, they had to freeze his body to buy time for the paint to dry. Barnaby stepped over to the painting on the wall and pressed his thumb firmly against the edge, smudging the oil. He pointed out that while the surface appeared dry, the layers underneath were completely wet because a freshly painted canvas requires a full 4 weeks, or sometimes even 6 to 7 weeks, to dry entirely through to the back. Suddenly, Tony Barrow stepped out from behind the curtain, holding a heavy pistol. He ordered Abby to get the car and bring it around to the back immediately. Abby panicked, crying out that what happened to Ralph was a pure accident, explaining to Barnaby that Ralph had confronted Tony at the beach house and they had fought, resulting in an accidental fatal fall. Tony shouted at her to shut up and commanded her again to get the vehicle. Barnaby stood his ground, warning Tony that if he turned up dead as well, the police would easily connect the pieces. Tony glared at him, warning him to stay exactly where he was. Abby hesitated, begging Tony to tell the detective that she was only trying to help him. Tony ignored her cries, keeping his weapon trained on Barnaby as he backed out of the room toward the waiting vehicle. Within moments, the loud sirens of the sheriff's secondary patrol vehicles echoed down the driveway, blocking all avenues of escape. Betty had successfully contacted the authorities just in time. The weapon slipped from the trembling hand of Tony as the deputies rushed into the house to secure the perimeter and place the 2 conspirators under arrest. A few days later, the storm had completely passed, and the sun shone brightly over the beautiful estate once again. Walter Morgan met Barnaby near the main entrance, expressing his deep sorrow about the tragic fate of his client, noting that he was now in the same boat, searching for a completely new source of business revenue. He turned to Liza, who was packing her things, and playfully asked if she needed a new housekeeping position. Barnaby smiled warmly, telling Liza that after she spoke with the estate attorney, Mr. Phillips, she might discover that she would never have to do any housekeeping ever again. He revealed that Guthrie Reinhard was not nearly as tight-fisted as everyone had believed, at least as far as she was concerned, and had left her a massive sum in his final will. Liza gasped in pure delight, laughing that she now had a fortune with nobody to spend it on. Barnaby and Betty walked toward their car, and Liza called out, asking if Barnaby was listed in the local telephone book in case she ever traveled down his way. Betty laughed loudly, assuring her that he sure was. Barnaby tipped his hat one last time, smiling as he told Liza that he would be seeing her, and Liza waved back happily, shouting that he could bet his sweet patootie she would.